All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're breaking down the complete guide to expanding into one of the most exciting markets on the planet, India. If you've ever wondered how to actually set up a business there, well, this is for you. So, why India? Why now? Well, let's just start with a number, a big number. In the last fiscal year alone, India pulled in nearly $71 billion in foreign direct investment. Now, that's not just money changing hands, that's a massive vote of confidence from the entire global business community. So here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll start with the why, then get into choosing the right company structure. After that, we'll walk you through the 7-step roadmap to actually get it done. Then we'll cover what it takes to succeed on the ground. And we'll finish up with some key risks and takeaways. Sound good? Let's get to it. Okay, first things first, why even consider India? To put it simply, it's your chance to get a piece of the action in the world's fastest growing major economy. And the key thing here is consistency. We're not talking about some one-off boom year. We're talking about an average GDP growth of over 6% a year for the last 2 decades. That's incredible. And it's all fueled by a massive growing middle class with money to spend, an incredibly skilled workforce, and government reforms that are genuinely cutting through the red tape. On to Section 2, choosing your company structure. This is probably the first huge decision you'll have to make, and you really want to get it right. The good news is we can narrow down the options really fast. Proprietorships and partnerships, they're out. Why? Unlimited liability. That's a risk no parent company wants to touch. And even a limited liability partnership, or LLP, which sounds good, just isn't an option for setting up a foreign subsidiary under Indian law. So that leaves us with a very clear winner, the private limited company. This is the go-to structure, and for good reason. It protects the parent company with limited liability and establishes a totally separate legal entity. It's exactly the kind of setup a foreign business needs. Now, within that private limited structure, you hit a fork in the road. Do you go with a wholly owned subsidiary? That means 100% ownership, total control, you keep all the profits. Or do you opt for a joint venture? That's where you partner up with a local Indian company. You get instant market knowledge and connections, but you have to share control and the profits. It's a classic trade-off, complete control versus local expertise. All right, Section 3, time to get practical. Let's walk through the actual roadmap, from filing the first piece of paper to officially opening your doors. First up, let's talk about timing, just to set some realistic expectations. If everything is perfect on day 1, you could get an approval in as little as 15 days. But being realistic, a safer bet for the whole process, start to finish, is about 30 days. So here's what that process actually looks like. You'll start by getting a digital signature certificate and a director identification number. Think of these as your secure digital IDs. After you reserve your company name, the big step is filing a single form called Spice Plus. What's great is that this one form also handles your applications for key tax IDs. After that, it's pretty straightforward. Open a bank account and get your compliance systems in place. And the big question, what does this all cost? Well, for the entire process, that's all inclusive, you should budget somewhere between 15,000 and 50,000 Indian rupees. Honestly, that's a pretty modest investment to get yourself established in a market this big. Now, there is one requirement that is an absolute must-have, the local resident director. Indian law says you have to appoint at least one director who lives in India. And this isn't just a formality. This person is your official point of contact for the authorities and is crucial for making sure you're following all the local rules. Okay, so you're incorporated. Congratulations. But now the real work begins. Section 4 is all about what happens next, how you actually succeed and thrive once you're up and running. On the financial side, a few things to keep in mind. You're looking at a corporate tax rate of about 30%, and pay close attention to transfer pricing rules. Basically, any deal between your subsidiary and the parent company has to be at a fair market price. No funny business. The good news? You absolutely can send your profits back home, and there are often agreements in place to make sure you don't get taxed on the same income twice. Beyond the balance sheet, success in India really comes down to culture. And this is so important. You have to build personal relationships and trust. Don't just jump straight into business talk. Also, be patient. Decisions can take longer. And finally, always show respect for hierarchy and be mindful of local customs. Getting this right can make or break your venture. All right, our final section. Let's talk risks and takeaways.
The best way to build a winning playbook is to learn from the successes and failures of others who've gone before you.
First, let's look at a success story. Arts and Engineering's entry into India is pretty much a masterclass in how to do it right.
So, what was their secret sauce? Well, they tapped into India's amazing pool of skilled, cost-effective talent. But crucially, they didn't just see it as a back office. They turned their Indian subsidiary into a real hub for innovation. And most importantly, they made sure their goals were perfectly aligned with what the local market actually needed.
Now for the other side of the coin. Even a global giant like Tesco really struggled when they first entered the market, and it's a powerful lesson in what can go wrong. The takeaways here are just as valuable. First, Tesco underestimated just how complex the bureaucracy could be. They also didn't do enough deep research to really get the Indian consumer. And third, they didn't have a strong local supply chain ready to go. These are classic mistakes that can trip up anyone, no matter how big. So when you put it all together, the conclusion is pretty clear. Expanding into India really does represent one of the single greatest growth opportunities out there for most international businesses today. The potential is just massive. So, we've looked at the why, the how, and the what to watch out for. The fact that India offers huge growth potential, that's not really in question. The real question this leaves you with is this: what's your entry strategy going to be?